The Spirit of the Lord left King Saul, and Saul is now sleeping inside a cave. And David goes with a knife and is there in the same cave where his biggest enemy, King Saul, from which the Spirit of the Lord has left. And he's sleeping. And David only just takes a piece of the garment. And when his men asked David, why you didn't kill him? Do you know what he said? Because he is the what? He is the anointed of the Lord. Now, this is a man that the Spirit of the Lord was not with him anymore. Nevertheless, David did not dare to kill him because he was the anointed of the Lord. These people here in this story, Exodus 16, they forget who Moses is. Now, Moses is man. Aaron is a man. But they are anointed by the Lord to lead the people to Canaan. And they complaining and whinging to the leaders of Israel. Whew. The story moves on. And the Lord, they're wondering. See, I mean, we know that the Lord did all these wonders in Egypt. We know that the Lord has separated the sea. But we're wondering, can He feed us in the desert? You know? And the Lord He says there He's furious, but He's just frustrated. The Lord is frustrated. What is easier, friends? To forgive sins or to tell to the paralytic, get up and walk? What is easier? What costs more? To save them from Egypt or to feed them in the desert? To save them from Egypt, it costs God's Son. That's the value of that cost. To feed them in the desert is just easy for God. It costs more to take them out of Egypt. In fact, when you look at the 10 plagues, none of them won't do it. The Lord can bring these frogs, and can bring the flies, I can bring the darkness, I can bring the red blood on the waters. They won't do it. They won't set the captives free. 9 of those plagues won't work it. Won't do it. It needs to come. The salvation needs to come through that lamb. Once that lamb was sacrificed, which was the 10th plague, all right, now is worthy. Now the price has been paid. Anything else, the other 9 plagues, won't make it. Won't make to the cost. So it actually is more difficult, or it costs more to take them out of Egypt, because it costs God's Son, that actually feed them in the desert. Nevertheless, they're complaining. So they ask for bread, or at least some are asking for bread, and they ask for meat. They ask for meat. Now in Numbers chapter 11, let's go to Numbers chapter 11. Numbers chapter 11, verse 5. And the Bible says, Numbers 11, verse 5, we remember the fish which we ate freely in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons, the leek, the onions, and the garlic. You know, when I used to read this verse, I was getting a bit uneasy because I'm a vegetarian. And I was thinking, well, what's wrong with onions? What's wrong with garlic? And then I remember how we talk about food in my culture. See, the emphasis there is not on the onions. Do you know that the emphasis is on the fish? And I'll tell you how Spaniards talk about food. Oh, I remember that fish, man. You put it on the grill there. You chop your onions. You chop your garlic. You know, like they are the things that add flavor to the fish. Okay, when they were craving, there's nothing wrong with the onion. They were not missing eating the onion like that. They were missing the flavor that the onion gave to the fish dish and to the meat dish and all the others. Okay, and I'll tell you what actually happened. Now, as we read the story in Exodus, stay there just for a second in Numbers 11. As we read this story in Exodus 16, appears that the Lord made the bread coming down from heaven and the meat through the quail, right? The quail came and all that. And it appears that nothing else happened. You know, you keep on reading the story, nothing else happened. Well, Numbers 5 actually, or 11, sorry, Numbers 11 where we are, he actually tells us exactly what happened. You come with me in the same chapter to verse 18. Verse 18 of Numbers 11, and it says, "Then you shall say to the people, consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat. For you have wept in the hearing of the Lord, saying, who will give us meat to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall eat not 1 day, not 2 days, not 5 days, not 10 days, not 20 days, but how many days? For a whole month." How many times it rained? The quail? Once. Quail rained once. But how much of the quail rained? For a whole month. So they went and gathered the quail. Did you know that they didn't have refrigerators back then, by the way? Okay. They were so craving for it, that they pile up the whole camp. And you can imagine, you're walking through the camp of the Israelites, and you got quails hanging on every single thing, you know? And they quails with rice, and you got quails with potato, and then you got quail for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's not a joke, because my father, when we used to kill a lamb, he will actually eat lamb for breakfast, lunch, and dinner until the lamb was over, about a week or so later, and then he will get sick. For a whole month, they had that all abundance of quail hanging in there and eating on it. And then come on the same chapter, not on the same chapter, let's go to Psalm 78 that tells the story perhaps a bit better. Psalm 78. Okay, Psalm 78, we are going to pick up the story in verse 17. Psalm 78, verse 17. But they sin even more against him by rebelling against the Most High in the wilderness. And they tested God in their heart by asking for the food of their fancy. Yes, they spoke against God. They said, can God prepare us a table in the wilderness? Behold, he struck the rock, so the waters gushed out, and the streams overflowed. Can he give us bread also? Come on. Can he provide meat for his people? Therefore the Lord heard this, and he was furious. So a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also came up against Israel, because they did not believe in God and did not trust in his salvation. You notice that? They did not believe in God, neither trust in his salvation. Yet he had commanded the clouds above and opened the doors of heaven, and had rained down manna on them to eat, and give them the bread of heaven. Men ate angels' food and sent them food to the full. He caused an east wind to blow in the heavens, and by his power he brought in the south wind. And he also rained meat on them like the dust, feather fowl like the sand of the seas. And he let them fall in the midst of their camp, all around their dwellings. So they ate and were filled, for he gave them their own desire. They were not deprived of their craving, but while their food was still in their mouths, the wrath of God came against them, and slew the status of them, and struck down the chosen men of Israel. See, when we are reading this, we are tempted to think that the moment they actually grabbed the first one of them, they died. It says in Numbers 11 that they had enough quail there for a whole month. They will come out of their ears, Numbers 11 says. It will come out of their ears. So perhaps by the 20th day, or 25th day, or 29th day, a part of the fact that they had too much quail, that quail is off. Nevertheless, the Lord sent them to follow their own desires. and they die with the quail in their mouth. That's very significant.